The bright studio lights hang over the room like a gathering storm, casting sharp shadows on the polished set. The camera zooms in, catching every glimmer of sweat on the brows of the guests, their faces lit with the weight of anticipation. It's a live broadcast, no room for mistakes, no time for hesitation. The atmosphere is electric, crackling with the intensity of what's about to unfold. The host introduces the segment, the cameras sweeping across the audience. Eyes are wide, hands grip the armrests, hearts pounding in unison. This isn't just another political debate, this is a showdown that could shift the course of the conversation for days, if not years. In one corner, Jim Jordan, a seasoned politician, brimming with bravado. In the other, Jasmine Crockett, calm, collected, but ready to take down her opponent with nothing but the truth. The question hangs in the air like a blade. Crockett, poised as always, addresses Jordan directly. Mr. Jordan, how do you reconcile your position on the law when it contradicts basic legal principles? The room falls silent. The audience holds its breath, watching as Jordan leans forward, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. He's faced tougher questions, right? This will be no different. But the moment he opens his mouth, his confidence falters. His words stumble, a crack in the armor. Well, the thing is, it's complicated, he begins, voice wavering, as if searching for the right words but coming up short. A ripple of disbelief runs through the audience. This isn't the Jim Jordan they know, the one who can rattle off rehearsed talking points with ease. This is a man caught off guard, fumbling on live TV, struggling to regain control. The tension in the room thickens. The camera lingers on his face, the smirk replaced by uncertainty. The air feels heavier now, as if the very studio itself is holding its breath. The audience exchanges uneasy glances. This is the first question. What comes next? But what happened next left everyone in the room, and millions of viewers, completely stunned. This isn't just another debate. This is a moment that will reverberate across America, a defining confrontation where integrity, truth, and justice are on the line. Jasmine Crockett is not simply asking questions, she's standing in the very courtroom of public opinion, challenging the foundational principles that this nation was built upon. The question she poses is simple but profound: how can someone who dismisses the law be entrusted with power over the lives of the American people? Her calm, steady gaze locks on Jim Jordan, who sits across from her, defensive, dismissive, but now, undeniably, on the back foot. As the debate unfolds, the stakes grow clearer. Crockett's poise is striking, her unwavering confidence a testament to her belief in the truth. She doesn't flinch. Her voice is steady, unwavering as she presses forward, not just because she wants to win a debate, but because she wants to win something much bigger, the battle for the soul of American democracy. In the face of Jordan's floundering, she remains a beacon of legal integrity, a reminder that America deserves leaders who understand the law, not just its political utility. Jordan, however, falters. His response to Crockett's legal question is a flurry of tangled words, half-baked arguments, and distractions. He doesn't answer the question. Instead, he deflects. His frustration mounts as he realizes his usual tactics aren't working. The controlled bluster, the practiced insults, all the tools of his usual rhetoric are falling apart. This moment is bigger than politics. It's about competence, credibility, and the trust Americans place in their leaders. For the first time, his mask slips. What had been a carefully curated image of authority now seems more like a facade. He can't answer a simple question about the law, a question that goes to the very heart of his ability to lead. How can Americans trust someone with their rights when they can't even trust them to understand the basics of the legal system? This is the breaking point. And it's not just about Jim Jordan anymore. It's about what his failure says to the American people, that leadership, at its core, requires more than partisan talking points. It requires knowledge, humility, and a dedication to truth. That's what Crockett stands for, and she's about to make it clear for everyone watching. The contrast between the two is undeniable. Crockett's calm confidence and her deep commitment to the rule of law stand in stark opposition to Jordan's increasingly erratic behavior. While Jordan tries to wriggle free from accountability, Crockett's resolve only strengthens. She isn't just speaking to him, she's speaking to every American who's tired of the political games, the lies, and the disregard for justice. This moment isn't just a turning point in the debate. It's a turning point for the nation's perception of Jim Jordan. His inability to rise to the occasion has shattered his carefully built persona. And Crockett, with every question, with every word, is reminding America of the power of truth, the necessity of legal integrity, and the undeniable need for leaders who don't shrink in the face of responsibility. This moment will change the course of the debate, and possibly the nation's perception of Jim Jordan forever. Jim Jordan's political career has been marked by one defining trait: arrogance. A brash, self-assured figure who has risen to prominence in the Republican Party, Jordan has always projected the image of a fighter, an unyielding champion of conservative values. He's known for his relentless rhetoric, his ability to stand in front of cameras and deliver a barrage of soundbites designed to fire up his base. But beneath the bravado, there lies a troubling truth: Jordan's rise to power has been built not on a foundation of legal expertise or public service, but on a mastery of manipulation, obfuscation, and strategic evasion. Jordan's track record as a politician is a litany of controversial decisions, each more troubling than the last. As a founding member of the House Freedom Caucus, he was instrumental in pushing forward the most radical aspects of the Republican agenda. But rather than prioritize the welfare of his constituents, Jordan often used his platform to push ideologies and policies that catered to the far-right fringe, disregarding the practical implications of those policies. He wasn't in politics to serve the people, he was in it to further his own ambitions, and in doing so, he demonstrated a glaring lack of concern for the law. Perhaps the most glaring example of Jordan's disregard for legal principles came during his time as the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. It was there, during hearings that should have focused on the defense of the Constitution and the protection of American citizens' rights, that Jordan consistently played fast and loose with the facts. His focus was always on the political spectacle, the soundbites that would energize his base, rather than the substance of the laws he was supposed to uphold. Legal procedure. It was secondary to his goal of furthering his own political career. When it came to holding people accountable, Jordan was often more concerned with making grand gestures than ensuring that justice was served. His combative style in debates is legendary. He's known for tearing into his opponents with a fiery intensity, often resorting to personal attacks and deflections when confronted with facts or arguments he can't refute. The legal questions posed to him, the ones that require genuine thought and careful consideration, are always met with vague responses, half-truths, and the occasional outright lie. It's a tactic that works for him, especially in the short term, when he's speaking to a crowd that's more interested in entertainment than in truth. But these tactics are quickly exposed when someone like Jasmine Crockett, who understands the law deeply and respects its power, steps into the ring. Jordan's confidence in his own ability to manipulate the truth has often clouded his judgment. He doesn't rely on facts. He doesn't rely on solid legal principles. Instead, he relies on his ability to speak with authority, to command attention with his aggressive demeanor, and to convince people that his political ideology is more important than the facts. It's a strategy that has worked for him in the past, but now, in the face of Crockett's probing questions, it's clear that Jordan is ill-prepared for a battle grounded in legal integrity. Throughout his career, Jordan has demonstrated a near-pathological disregard for the law when it doesn't serve his interests. Whether it was during the hearings on the impeachment of Donald Trump, where Jordan repeatedly sought to discredit the legal process, or during his defense of policies that endangered the rights of millions of Americans, his actions have consistently shown a man willing to twist the law to his advantage. The legal framework he's supposed to champion is something he ignores when it's inconvenient, as long as he can score political points in the process. This inability to reconcile his bluster with the reality of the law has always been his biggest vulnerability. When the lights are brightest, when the debate is no longer about grandstanding and sensationalism, but about the core principles that guide the nation's legal system, Jordan falters. The facade he's built over the years, that of a tough, no-nonsense politician who can out-talk anyone, begins to crumble when faced with questions that demand substance. As the debate unfolds, Jordan is confronted not with the usual political banter he's accustomed to, but with a legal challenge that he cannot sidestep. The veneer of competence he's built is torn apart by the very thing he spent a lifetime avoiding: real, substantive legal knowledge. His usual tactics of evasion and deflection, the ones that have served him so well on the campaign trail and in committee hearings, no longer work. But what if Jordan's most devastating flaw wasn't his politics, but his failure to answer one simple legal question? Jasmine Crockett didn't come from privilege. Her journey to this moment was paved with struggle, sacrifice, and a deep, unyielding commitment to justice. Born into a working-class family, she knew from a young age what it meant to face adversity. Growing up in Dallas, Texas, she witnessed firsthand the inequities that plagued her community: the economic divide, the broken promises of the justice system, and the systemic racism that hindered the dreams of countless people who looked like her. But from those very experiences, Crockett found her calling. She knew she was destined to fight, for herself, for her family, and for every American whose voice had been silenced. Jasmine wasn't just an observer of the struggles in her neighborhood, she was a product of them. As a child, she saw her mother, a schoolteacher, work long hours to support their family, never asking for help, never complaining. It was her mother's strength and perseverance that instilled in Jasmine the understanding that hard work and resilience were the foundation of any meaningful success. The world might push you down, but it was your duty to rise, stand tall, and fight for what was right. Her desire for change led her to pursue a degree in law, where she excelled, driven by the same fire that had fueled her early life. Law school was not just an academic pursuit for Crockett, it was her weapon to challenge the systems that had oppressed her community for generations. She understood that the law wasn't just about contracts or cases, it was about justice, fairness, and making sure the powerful were held accountable for their actions. And in the courtroom, she thrived. Every argument, every case, every challenge was an opportunity for her to stand up for those who couldn't stand for themselves. Her legal expertise soon became widely recognized, and it wasn't long before she was recruited into public service. As a young attorney, she took on cases that other lawyers wouldn't touch: civil rights cases, defending the voiceless, fighting for justice in a broken system. But her path wasn't easy. The courtroom could be a cold, unforgiving place, especially when you were up against powerful institutions. She learned early on that the key to victory wasn't just in knowing the law, it was in knowing how to keep calm under pressure, how to present the truth, no matter how much the world around her tried to ignore it. And when it came to public service, Crockett was unflinching. In a world where political games were often played at the expense of the people, she made it her mission to break through the noise. She fought tirelessly for transparency in government, for equal access to justice, and for policies that would uplift the most marginalized. There were plenty of opportunities to take shortcuts, to play the game the way it was always played. But Jasmine wasn't interested in that. She was interested in doing what was right, no matter how difficult it might be. Her time as a state representative only solidified her reputation as someone who wasn't afraid to take on the tough issues. Whether it was pushing for reform in the criminal justice system or advocating for the disenfranchised, Crockett stood her ground. She wasn't in politics for the fame or the power, she was in it because she believed, truly and deeply, that this country could be better. She believed that the legal system, the political system, could be a force for good, a mechanism for real change. But it required leaders who would stand firm, who would never back down from the truth. Her calm demeanor in the face of adversity was something that often set her apart. While her colleagues might have been quick to engage in political sparring or drama, Crockett took a different approach. She knew that the key to winning was not in loud words or flashy tactics, but in steady resolve. She didn't need to shout to be heard, she just needed to speak the truth, and she knew that truth would resonate with those who needed to hear it the most. In the face of Jim Jordan's bombastic persona, this quiet strength was even more evident. Where Jordan's approach was aggressive, defensive, and full of theatrics, Crockett's was measured, thoughtful, and unshakable. She didn't let his words rattle her. She didn't let his interruptions distract her. She remained the calm in the storm, the steady hand guiding the conversation back to the core issue, justice. Her background as a trial lawyer and a public servant had prepared her for this very moment. She was used to the pressure, used to being in the hot seat, and used to standing firm in the face of doubt. Jordan's intimidation tactics, the deflections, the bluster, were nothing she hadn't seen before. In fact, she'd faced worse. The courtroom had taught her how to stay calm when the stakes were high, how to speak with clarity when everyone else was shouting, how to hold people accountable when they tried to evade the truth. And now, as she stood across from Jordan in this moment, she wasn't just prepared, she was determined. This wasn't about politics. It was about something much bigger. It was about ensuring that the American people had leaders who respected the law, who understood its power, and who would never compromise on justice. As the tension builds, Jasmine is about to unleash the legal knowledge that will silence Jim Jordan once and for all. The air in the studio has grown thick with tension, the energy of the room palpable. The audience, once quiet and expectant, now leans forward, eyes locked on the screen, sensing the showdown that is unfolding before them. Jim Jordan, visibly uncomfortable, shifts in his seat as Jasmine Crockett presses forward with another question, her voice calm but unwavering. Mr. Jordan, the law is clear. Why are you resisting the straightforward facts here? How do you justify your position on this issue, especially when it contradicts established legal principles? Jordan's jaw tightens. He's been caught in the spotlight, and now he's feeling the heat. He stammers, his confident tone faltering as he tries to regain control of the conversation. Well, that's a complex issue. You're oversimplifying it, Ms. Crockett. There are many nuances at play here that you're clearly ignoring. Crockett doesn't flinch. Her posture is straight, her gaze unwavering, as she calmly interrupts him. Mr. Jordan, I'm not oversimplifying. I'm asking you to answer a very basic question. The law is not about interpretation when it comes to fundamental rights. How do you justify your stance? Jordan, now visibly sweating, tries to regroup. He leans forward, his voice rising with frustration. You're twisting my words, twisting everything I've said. I've been in politics long enough to know that you don't just get to dictate the rules based on your personal opinion, Ms. Crockett. His arrogance is starting to spill out in full force now, his defensive posture starkly contrasting with her calm demeanor. Crockett holds her ground. Her words are measured but sharp, cutting through his evasion with the precision of a seasoned lawyer. This isn't about opinion, Mr. Jordan. This is about the law. And the law doesn't bend to political posturing. The contrast between them has never been clearer. While Jordan's tone grows more aggressive, his words more defensive, Crockett remains composed, almost eerily calm. There's a certain power in her quiet confidence, a power that rattles Jordan further. Every time he tries to dodge a direct answer, she tightens the noose of logic around his neck, pressing him into a corner. The audience begins to stir, sensing the shift in the debate. They've seen this before, the bluster, the self-assurance of a politician who believes he can talk his way out of anything. But now, they're witnessing something different, a calm, deliberate force standing in front of that facade, dismantling it piece by piece. Jordan's arrogance, his usual tactic of overwhelming his opponents with sheer force of will, begins to crack under the pressure. He starts to lash out, his tone increasingly sharp. I'm not going to sit here and be lectured by someone who doesn't understand the complexities of the law. This is a game to you, isn't it? You just want to make me look bad. The audience is caught in the crossfire. They can feel the escalation, the sense that the debate is teetering on the edge of something explosive. Who will crack first? Will Jordan's deflections and attacks finally land, or will Crockett continue to expose the flaws in his argument with unwavering clarity? But Crockett doesn't take the bait. She doesn't need to. She remains focused, her voice a steady stream of logic that cuts through Jordan's bombast. I'm not here to make you look bad, Mr. Jordan. I'm here to make sure the American people understand what's at stake. And right now, what's at stake is the integrity of the law. The contrast between their responses grows starker with each passing moment. Jordan's evasions become more transparent, more desperate, as he tries to hold on to his dwindling composure. Meanwhile, Crockett's clarity shines through, cutting through his bluster like a surgeon's scalpel. She's not just winning the debate, she's exposing the weakness at the heart of Jordan's arguments, and, by extension, the weakness of his entire political persona. With every word, the tension in the room ratchets up another notch. The audience's eyes flicker between the two of them, sensing the shift. This isn't just a political fight. This is a battle of wills, a test of who can maintain their composure when the stakes are highest. But the moment that everyone had been waiting for was coming, the one response that would end it all. The studio is silent. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. All eyes are on Jasmine Crockett as she takes a deep breath, her calm composure in stark contrast to the rising storm of Jordan's defensiveness. His words have grown increasingly incoherent, but now she has him where she wants him. The air crackles with anticipation. The audience knows something big is about to happen, they can feel it. Crockett's voice breaks the stillness, slow and deliberate, each word measured and precise. Mr. Jordan, you've repeatedly claimed that your stance is rooted in legal reasoning, that your actions are based on the law. But here's the issue, your position contradicts the very principles that you've sworn to uphold. You say you respect the Constitution, but your policies undermine its core tenets. Jordan shifts uncomfortably in his seat, his confident demeanor already starting to crack, but he doesn't respond right away. Instead, he narrows his eyes, preparing for a rebuttal, but Crockett is not finished. She continues, each sentence hitting like a hammer. Let me be clear. You argue that you're protecting American values, yet you champion policies that strip away rights from the most vulnerable in this country. You've voted against critical protections for women, for immigrants, and for the very institutions that support the fairness and equality of the legal system. You stand on the side of the powerful, while dismissing the needs of the people who need the law to protect them the most. There's a pause. A long, deliberate silence that stretches out, filling the room. Jordan opens his mouth, his face reddening, but no words come out. Crockett's words have struck a nerve, and his bravado is slipping away, piece by piece. Crockett doesn't let up. And here's the kicker, Mr. Jordan. You sit here, trying to lecture me about the law, but you've repeatedly failed to even understand the most basic legal principles. You say you're defending the Constitution, but your actions are a direct violation of it. You are twisting the law to suit your political agenda, and you can't even back up your own claims. You've contradicted yourself time and time again. And today, you've made it clear that when it comes to the law, the very thing that you're supposed to uphold, you're nothing but a fraud. The words hang in the air, each syllable more devastating than the last. The studio is holding its breath. Jordan's face is now a mixture of disbelief and anger. His hands clench into fists, but he remains silent. He can't answer her. He's been cornered, exposed for what he is, a man who has used the law as a tool to push his own agenda, without any real understanding of its power or its purpose. The audience's reaction is electric. The cameras catch glimpses of their faces, some are stunned, others are on the edge of their seats, eyes wide in disbelief. And then, like a wave crashing over the shore, it happens, the first clap. A tentative, almost reluctant applause from the back of the room. But it spreads like wildfire. Soon, the entire audience is clapping, some even standing, their faces lit with a mixture of admiration and awe. They are witnessing a masterstroke in real time, the kind of clarity and confidence they've rarely seen in a political debate. Jordan, the man who had walked into this debate with arrogance, now looks small. His earlier smugness is gone. He tries to recover, but his voice trembles as he opens his mouth to respond, but the words fail him. His eyes dart around, as if looking for something, an out, a way to regain control. But it's too late. The damage has been done. The crowd has turned on him. The once unshakable political figure is now nothing more than a man desperately trying to hold on to his crumbling reputation. Crockett, in contrast, stands tall, unshaken. Her composure is a testament to everything she's fought for, the truth, the law, and the pursuit of justice. She's not just winning this debate. She's dismantling the very foundations of Jordan's political identity. But just when you think it's over, a viral storm erupts that sends shockwaves across the nation. The moment Jasmine Crockett delivered her devastating counterattack against Jim Jordan, the impact was immediate. The debate might have ended in the studio, but its repercussions began to ripple outwards, first through the room, and then across the globe. Social media erupted in a frenzy, a tidal wave of hashtags, memes, and viral videos flooding Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The debate wasn't just a political moment anymore, it had become a national event, one that everyone, from everyday citizens to political commentators, would be talking about for days to come. It started on Twitter, where users quickly capitalized on the moment, sharing clips of Crockett's legal takedown of Jordan. Hashtags like hashtag Crockett owns Jordan, hashtag justice for the people, and hashtag truth prevails began trending, and the comment section was flooded with praise for the Texas representative. Political figures, celebrities, and everyday Americans alike weighed in on the debate, and Crockett's name quickly became synonymous with justice, integrity, and the strength of conviction. One tweet from a popular journalist read, "Jasmine Crockett just showed us what happens when a politician with real legal knowledge faces off against a political hack." That was not just a win for her, that was a win for the truth. Thousands of retweets followed, with many adding their own praise and support. The debate had, in a sense, become a flashpoint for something larger, a collective yearning for transparency, truth, and a legal system that actually works for the people. On Instagram, posts of Crockett's stunning takedown flooded the feed. Political influencers and commentators shared clips of the moment, dissecting it with awe and admiration. Memes quickly emerged, depicting Jordan's crumbling confidence, with one image circulating widely of Crockett's calm face juxtaposed with Jordan's increasingly desperate expressions. The internet had turned the debate into an iconic moment, with many sharing their thoughts under captions like, "When the truth hits harder than political rhetoric," and "The law doesn't bend for anyone, not even Jim Jordan." TikTok, with its vast audience of young, politically engaged users, exploded as well. Short, punchy videos were shared, showing snippets of Crockett's masterful response, paired with captions like, "Legal Eagle versus political hack," and "Jasmine Crockett, one woman, one question, infinite truth." Viewers began creating their own commentary videos, with many expressing their admiration for her composed yet assertive approach. Crockett had not only won the debate, she had also captured the imagination of a generation that was hungry for real leadership, not political games. Celebrities, too, couldn't resist weighing in. Hollywood actors, athletes, and musicians took to their platforms to voice their support for Crockett. "She's the leader we need in Washington," tweeted one actor with millions of followers. "It's time we stop letting people like Jim Jordan get away with the nonsense they're spewing. Hashtag Crockett for the win." Another actress posted a clip of the debate with a simple caption, "This is what real leadership looks like." Public figures from across the spectrum of entertainment had united in their praise, creating an unprecedented wave of social validation for Crockett. On the opposite side, Jordan was met with intense backlash. Political pundits from across the aisle seized on his failure, calling it a disaster for his political career. One conservative commentator on Fox News tried to defend him, but even their attempts to downplay Crockett's triumph couldn't shake the reality: Jordan had been exposed as someone who lacked the legal knowledge to back up his political bluster. Critics of Jordan began to question his credibility, with many asking whether he was truly fit for office if he couldn't even defend his own stance on basic legal principles. Jordan's social media presence, once full of confident posts and retweets, quickly went silent. His supporters were noticeably absent, and many of the usual talking points he relied on to rally his base seemed hollow in the wake of his public humiliation. Jordan's once unshakable confidence had evaporated. People were beginning to wonder, was his political career really built on substance, or was it all just a facade? The damage was done, and the reverberations of that moment would echo for months, if not years. The conversation around Crockett's performance shifted quickly from mere praise to recognition of her potential as a political force. Jasmine Crockett just made a name for herself, one political analyst tweeted. And this is just the beginning. The Democrats have found their future star. Supporters rallied behind her, with many tweeting their hopes for her future in higher office. The viral storm that followed the debate cemented her place as a leader on the rise, someone who wasn't just a skilled politician but also a beacon of legal integrity and fairness. As the dust settled, it became clear that Crockett's impact had extended far beyond the debate stage. She had struck a nerve with the American people. In the aftermath, articles were published across major media outlets, praising her calm, composed handling of the debate and analyzing her legal expertise. She had proven, in a single moment, that the truth could be more powerful than political rhetoric. The entire nation was now asking the question that was on everyone's mind: what does this mean for the future of Jim Jordan and his political career? The public's opinion of him had shifted irrevocably. The powerful image of Crockett's steady resolve and Jordan's fumbling defensiveness would be replayed for years to come. As the shockwaves of the debate continued to reverberate through the nation's political landscape, one thing was clear: Jim Jordan would never be able to recover from this moment. And Jasmine Crockett had, without a doubt, redefined the terms of the debate. As the debate fades into memory and the cameras cut away, Jasmine Crockett stands tall, her composure unwavering. The crowd may have gone silent, but the weight of the moment continues to hang in the air. What began as a simple exchange of political ideas has transformed into something far greater. It wasn't just a victory for Crockett, it was a resounding affirmation of something much larger: the fundamental principles of justice, dignity, and integrity that should govern not only the halls of Congress but the very soul of the nation. Crockett had been more than a challenger in that moment, she had become the embodiment of the truth that so many Americans had longed to hear. In the wake of her counterattack, she didn't just win the debate. She reframed it. She took the conversation about partisan politics and refocused it on the core values that matter most to the American people: competence, truth, and service. Values that, in too many corners of the political arena, have been pushed aside in favor of ego and ambition. The debate was never just about one politician, it was about the kind of America we want to build. In her closing words, Crockett had made it clear that this moment transcended Jordan's failure. It was about more than exposing one man's shortcomings, it was about exposing a system that too often rewards bluster over substance, ego over expertise, and ambition over justice. Her message resonated with millions of viewers, sending a powerful message that competence and integrity must always come before political gamesmanship. Today, we saw what happens when we place the law over the ego, truth over deceit, Crockett had said in her final words. In politics, and in life, service to the people must always outweigh service to oneself. If we lose sight of that, then we lose the very essence of what this country is supposed to stand for. We must remember that integrity isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The law isn't something to be bent to fit one's political needs, it's a guiding force that keeps us all accountable. Her words were like a balm to a wounded political landscape, reminding the public that it was still possible to lead with honor and dignity. The American people had seen so much divisiveness and so many examples of political figures who seemed to care more about holding on to power than upholding the ideals of justice. But Crockett had shown them that it didn't have to be this way. There was a path forward, a path where leaders didn't just use their platform to push agendas, but used it to serve the truth. In the aftermath of the debate, the conversation shifted from political party lines to a much deeper, more meaningful discourse. What kind of America do we want to build? One where power is abused for personal gain, or one where leaders are held accountable for their actions, where integrity is prioritized over all else? It was clear that the answer lay in the kind of leadership Crockett represented. She wasn't trying to score political points, she was fighting for the truth, for fairness, and for the American ideal of justice. Her call for a return to those values didn't just resonate in the moment, it sparked something much greater. In living rooms across the country, people began to ask themselves how they could bring those values into their own lives. Whether in the workplace, in their communities, or in the way they engaged with politics, there was a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that integrity was the bedrock of a society that could thrive. The debate wasn't just a moment of triumph for Crockett, it was a turning point for the nation, a moment when millions recognized that truth and justice weren't just lofty ideals, but the very forces that could guide America into a better future. Crockett's leadership, her strength under pressure, and her ability to refocus the debate on the values that matter most became a symbol of what is possible when we demand more from our leaders. She wasn't just challenging one politician, she was challenging the entire system. And in doing so, she inspired a new generation to rise above partisan divides and return to the principles that made America great: fairness, dignity, and respect for the rule of law. As the nation reflects on the debate, the question is no longer whether Jim Jordan can recover from his defeat. The real question is, what kind of leaders will we choose moving forward? The legacy of this moment isn't just about one debate, it's about setting a standard for the future. It's about making sure that the leaders we elect reflect the values that we hold dear: justice, truth, and an unwavering commitment to serving the people. This is not just a political moment. It is a call to action, a reminder that in the end, we all have a role to play in shaping the America we want to live in. And it starts with holding ourselves and our leaders accountable to the highest standard of truth, integrity, and service. Jasmine Crockett's victory over Jim Jordan wasn't just a political win, it was a victory for integrity, for the law, and for the values that define America. In that debate, Crockett didn't just stand up to a politician, she stood up for the truth. She proved that when we hold our leaders accountable to the highest standards of justice and transparency, we all rise. This was more than a debate. It was a reaffirmation that in American politics, competence, integrity, and fairness must always come before ego and political gamesmanship. Crockett's words and actions remind us of the power we all have to demand better, not just from our leaders, but from ourselves. We can build an America that truly reflects the values we hold dear: truth, justice, and equality. This moment marks a turning point in our nation's political landscape. It's time for a new kind of leadership, one that serves the people, not the powerful. If you believe in accountability, in the power of truth, and in justice for all, now is the time to act. Don't let this moment pass by. Subscribe to this channel to stay informed and empowered. Share this video to spread the message of what true leadership looks like. Join the movement for a better America, a country where integrity leads, and the rule of law always comes first. Let this victory remind you that the fight for justice is far from over. But together, we can make it happen. Stand with Jasmine Crockett, stand with truth, and let's create the America we deserve. The time for change is now. Will you be part of it?